Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. Yesterday, Walmart pleaded guilty to criminal charges of dumping hazardous waste in California and Missouri. The retail giant will pay $81.6 million in fines for violating the Clean Water Act and other EPA regulations. That fine is less than 0.1% of the profits that Walmart made in 2012 alone. So after criminally dumping chemicals in 16 California counties for years, Walmart can simply write off the fine as a small cost of doing business. If you or I were caught illegally dumping these chemicals, we could face fines of $50,000 a day and 5 years in jail. And if you or I did so in a way that put other people at risk, the way Walmart has done, our fine could be as much as $250,000 per day, along with 15 years behind bars. According to the Supreme Court, Walmart is a person, but they aren't subject to the same criminal justice system that real people face. Walmart can't be put on probation or thrown in jail. They just pay fines for breaking the law and go right back to screwing over workers and killing mom-and-pop businesses around the world. They don't care about fines. For them, it's like getting a parking ticket. And if the price is right, they'll just keep breaking the law and paying fines because it's cheaper or easier than doing what's legal. If a normal person would be thrown in jail for 5 years after illegally dumping toxic waste, Walmart should be forced to shut its doors for an equal amount of time. If a corporation's action can lead to someone's death, that corporation should be held to the same standard that a human being would be held. Life in prison, or even the death penalty if someone died. That corporation should be forced to permanently shut down or be broken up and never allowed to do business again. If Walmart wants the privilege of being a person, they should face the responsibilities that real people face. That includes being punished for their crimes. In Screwed News, what do you get for enacting legislation that the vast majority of voters in your state support? Recall. Well, at least in Colorado you do. Several Democratic state lawmakers are facing recall petitions because of their votes for stronger gun control. State Senate President John Morse and 3 other Democratic lawmakers were not the main sponsors of gun control legislation, but all come from districts where Republicans believe they can gather plenty of support for their recall. The National Rifle Association has also gotten involved by sending a political mailer saying it is working with local recall groups. In an interview with New England Cable News, State Senator Morse seemed to expect the recall vote to happen. He said so-called gun rights advocates are using his district to make a national statement about what happens to lawmakers who support gun control. That's what's going on here, he said. They want to take out the Senate president. These lawmakers are the people who enacted gun laws that the voters wanted. Now it's time to get out there and ensure that they aren't recalled for doing the people's business. In the best of the rest of the news, if you had to guess which state is leading our nation in solar energy development, you probably wouldn't guess Minnesota. But that state has enacted legislation to become the solar production standard bearer that other states should be following. Last week, Governor Mark Dayton signed a new economic development bill that includes major incentives for solar development. The new law mandates that 1.5% of Minnesota's electricity must come from solar by 2020. This requirement paves the way for widespread solar development throughout the state, which will generate an enormous amount of green energy and create countless middle-class jobs in that state. Minnesota will also invest in community-owned solar gardens and will begin paying consumers for the extra electricity that their panels produce. This bill is a win-win for consumers, the environment, and Minnesota's economy. Minnesota may not be our nation's sunshine capital, but when it comes to solar energy, they're showing every state how green energy development is done. Only 7 days after women called on Facebook to take domestic violence seriously, that company has responded and pledged to remove anti-women hate speech. Facebook issued a statement saying it has become clear that our systems to identify and remove hate speech have failed to work as effectively as we would like, particularly around issues of gender-based hate, end quote. After an outcry over Facebook's failure to remove pages and comments that support or make light of violence against women, the company promises to review standards, update training, and increase accountability to correct the problem. There are still plenty of areas that Facebook needs to improve, like privacy protections, limitations on political speech, and more. But their response to this outcry indicates that at the very least, they are listening. Before Facebook issued the statement, at least 15 companies had announced they were pulling advertising from that social media site and standing with the women protesting the online hate speech. It is likely that this alliance between companies and activists led to Facebook's quick response, and it is a prime example of what we can change when we work together. Organized people can defeat organized money, so let's keep fighting for more positive change. And finally, yesterday, televangelist and one-time Republican presidential candidate and billionaire Pat Robertson accused an unnamed online publication of deliberately twisting his words to embarrass him. Robertson promised a full-scale expose on that organization because he said, it's a nasty group. Although he didn't name the online entity, he said their sole purpose is to embarrass those who are conservative on television. That means Pat Robertson is referring either to Media Matters or Right Wing Watch, a project from People for the American Way. PFAW Research Director Josh Glastetter said, Right Wing Watch faithfully reports Robertson's comments and provides appropriate context. There is no need to twist and distort his words to make them sound crazy or offensive. They are inherently both. And that's the way it is today, Wednesday, May 29th, 2013. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.